So this is the Naija We Need, and we've been having it over the time. And the recent breaking news happening is that the African Democratic Congress, the Court of Appeal, has upholded the judgment of that of the Federal High Court, and then the implication is to delist the African Democratic Congress. So I am going to be discussing the court judgment of the Court of Appeal with Honorable Gabriel Uchenna, that's the Enugu State Youth Leader of African Democratic Congress. Good day, sir. How are you doing?
Good day, the Naija We Need. Thank you for having me.
So you mentioned somewhere in your quotes somehow on a platform that a lot of people, the masses, are misinterpreting the judgment of the Court of Appeal. What could you say about that?
Okay, let me lay a foundation of how this the case in the first place emanated.
Okay.
The case was originated by Don Norman. Don Norman happens to be the expelled former chairman of ADC Abia State, and he filed a case against the party leadership that the jurisdiction to conduct the state congresses lies with the state executive council, the state leadership. But the national leadership sent representative, or rather sent people from Abuja that monitored and supervised over congresses across states. So the case that was filed was strictly that the jurisdiction lies with the state leadership.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with the national leadership of the party. That's where I want to gain some certain clarification. Okay. Additionally, in the area of our presidential candidate, by virtue of how the primaries was conducted, it is a direct primary and not a delicate or rather indirect primaries. Now, in the case of direct primary, it entails every member of the political party. They participated and exercised their franchise in electing their candidate across board. So in that instance, it is not the state that determines who is their member, or rather who would participate in the primaries. Every member of the party participated. You understand? So it has nothing to, it's a clear distinction. It has nothing to do with the state congresses. Now, it might interest you to know that because of the litigation, the national leadership obeyed the court order. As I speak to you, what we have across board, across states, is interim leadership of the party, caretaker committee. So no Congress produced any leadership. And additionally, the tenure of the state working committee and state executive committee elapsed, I think, May 19 of this year. So this matter at hand already has been overtaken by time. So the presidential candidate and every candidate of the party still stands. The judgment doesn't affect their candidature.
Okay, it means, because a lot of outrow there is that both Atiku Abubakar and his vice president candidates, all of them are affected. So, I mean, clarify this in a more simple way for individuals to understand that this did not affect presidential candidates, that is ADC presidential fielding candidates, because most people will be like, okay, since the Court of Appeal has upholded the judgment of the Federal High Court, which means the implication indirectly is that the court does not recognize Senator David Mark's ADC Congress, right? So could you clarify it more why it's not so that the presidential candidate is not affected? That's your article, Abubakar.
Okay, that's what I just said earlier.
Congresses,
let me explain. Yes. Congresses has to do with the party structure.
Okay.
That's a process that produces the leadership of the party in the state as well as at the national level. While primaries are the processes that produces the party's candidates. Now, in this context, prior to 2027, or rather 2026, the electoral law has amended. We used to have indirect primaries, or what we also can refer to as delegate election, where a microscopic view of the party structure in the state will be picked to represent the party of the state at the national convention to select the candidate of the party. But in this context, what we had is indirect primary, where every member of the political party participated in electing who becomes their candidate. So now, the process that we went through in getting our candidate has nothing to do with the congresses. The congresses on its own is a different matter as it stands. And like I rightly mentioned, it has been overtaken by events because the tenure of this present leadership has elapsed on the 19th of May. So even if the judgment subsists, they don't have the jurisdiction to still conduct congresses because their time in office has elapsed. So David Mark, after the elapsed and the time of the in office elapsed, they now appointed caretaker committee at the state level. So the primaries, or rather the primaries and the congresses, are two different party activity that doesn't have anything in common.
Okay, so well, how well are you people prepared coming this 2027 general election? It seems like this court case have been, keeping you people on the edge. Most of your candidates are kind of like on the edge. So how well are you prepared aside the court issues and all that?
We are very much prepared. We are in July. We are still doing behind the scene consultation where virtually every candidate, that's what they are doing. The campaign proper kickstarts in September. So bet me by September you will see our capacity during the campaign.
So because we are talking about national politics here, right?
Yeah.
Your candidates, why are they better than the other candidates? That is the ruling party, that's APC, and also the NDC. Why are they better than that? Is it on a personal basis or based on experience?
No, aside experience or on a personal basis, because I don't want to be biased as a party man. I would always side my people. However, the process that brought them into becoming candidates was rigorous. They went through rigorous process to test their capacity, their credential, to see if they have what the masses are yelling for. First and foremost, before you become a candidate, there are certain expectations that the party would expect from you. And virtually all our candidates, I will not speak for all, but virtually all our candidates possesses the requisite technical and tactical know-how to deliver on their mandate if given the opportunity to represent the people at different levels.
Okay, well, now let's go to electoral integrity, that is with INEC, right? Now, for voters protection, now the question goes to you and then also your team, right? How well, what are the strategies the ADC is developing to train agents and also combat vote buying in the coming election, especially in various polling units?
Well, vote buying has become a menace in our electioneering process. The thing is this, we are advocating, and that's what we have been saying from time immemorial, that this election should be free and fair. Everybody should be allowed to exercise their franchise. If you see something, say something. We need also that the security agencies to be proactive. Anybody that is caught perpetuating the crime of vote buying should be persecuted. Now, we've had cases of compromise here and there, and that's what we are scared of. But that being said, we cannot, because of issues of time past, be swayed away by what is about to happen. We can only advocate, we can only speak out and follow every process, not to law, to make sure that the forthcoming election is free, fair, transparent, and accountable. That everything that would make the elections, be termed violent or not transparent, we eliminate it in our own way. So our agents will be up and doing.
Have you established those agents? That's the first question.
Yeah, we are working on it. We are working on it.
And
it's a continuous process.
A continuous process.
Yeah, we are
because you mentioned that the job is meant for the Nigerian government to provide individuals who is going to combat vote buying without mentioning your agent itself. So how is it that, have you prepared? Have you started making plans on training? What are the steps?
No, the thing is this: when our agent sees such in the polling unit, vote buying, they cannot confront the person in question. It will be termed jungle justice. You cannot take laws into your hand. The right thing to do is to report the case to the nearest security agent or the security personnel that is manning that polling unit. So, by and large, you cannot totally dissuade or exonerate the federal government or the security agents from doing their job. Because it is one thing to witness a crime being committed. It is another thing to report it or take laws into your hands. So once you notice such, you are left with two options. It's either you react, which is against the law, or you report to a law enforcement agency to take actions. So we, as a law-abiding citizen, as a law-abiding party, will go through the route of reporting such cases to the appropriate authority to take actions.
Okay, now talking about your governorship candidates, what could you say about your governorship candidate? That's over there, is it all right?
Yeah, Chukuma.
So what could you say about it?
Well, our governor candidate is one of the most a good man to the core. He's humble, he's empathetic, he has the interests of the people at heart. And before he even ventured into politics, he's a philanthropist. He has, over time, spread his goodwill across different strata. He's a private citizen that rise to fame through hard work. Now that he had thought it wise to step into the field and participate in elections, I think the people should give him a chance. Because as a private citizen, he has done so much. He has shown capacity. He has touched the life of so many persons. So now that he wants to step into public office, it's only natural that he's a man of his own. He has the capacity on his own. Even if he doesn't participate in politics, he doesn't have any problem with that. God has blessed him. But because of the yelling of the people, because the people, the way things are being done is not in the right way that he feels, and the people in the nation at large know that it's not going according to plan. In his magnanimity of heart, he's now presenting himself. Now the people send him to correct some of these abnormalities, these bad governance that we are experiencing. Yeah, because number one, it takes somebody with good heart, it takes somebody that is empathetic. And you will notice such person before the person gets into power. Because he gets to, as a man, there's a certain stage in life that you get to. You won't be able to change your personality. You can only enhance. Now, for those that know him, like much as I do, they will attest to the fact that our candidate, Obodezo Chukuma, is one of the most honest, the most humble, the most transparent person I've ever met. You cannot be with him and not be perplexed by his personality, owing to the fact that he has so much influence and affluence, but he's still humble and down to earth. That's the kind of leader that we need, a leader that listens to the plight of the people, and not just listen, he acts immediately, takes action to cushion their effect, or rather ameliorate their plight. So that's the kind of leaders that we need. And It ticks all the dots, it ticks all the boxes of a leader that the people would be proud of.
So what's your message to Enugu State residents and citizens? Try to convince them why it's your candidate instead of that of His Excellency Peter Mba.
Well, you know, in this situation, the incumbent has done one or two things for the eyes to see, even though he has not met the people's expectation. There are areas he didn't do well. And one thing with politics is, and elections, is that every candidate will come and present their manifesto of what they will do. For those that are occupying the position already, the people will have seen what he has done and we judge from it. But what I'm telling you right now is that my candidate, Obodezo Chukwuma, has a proven integrity. In his hometown, in his place of work, as a private citizen, his antecedent is second to none. So, owing to the fact that he's coming from the private sector, and he has done so much in that area, he has touched the life of so many people. He's a philanthropist to the core. When I say to the core, I mean to the core. Now, what he would do, normally as a private citizen, there's much you can do with your resources. Your resources, you use it to touch those around you, you know, your family members, friends and loved ones, your kinsmen, you know, and stuff like that. But when you occupied an elevated position, like being the governor of the state, it provides you with resources to touch the larger sphere, to touch more people. So now, with his own personal resources, he has done so much in that area. Once he's, by the special grace of God, he becomes the governor of Enugu State, he will do more, he will do fantastic. I'm assuring in the Enugu that Obodezo Chukwuma is the man for the job. He's the man for the job. He has all it takes to become the governor of Enugu State and govern Enugu and take Enugu from the state that we are now to an enviable height.
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful interview. Maybe
Thank
the
you
next
for
time
having
we are
me
going
once
to
again.
have this section, we talk about the governorship candidates proper.
Thank you very much.
Just like we've already clarified that the appeal court judgment is not affecting the presidential candidate. That is what we are really interested in.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just affecting some other positions. Does it still reach down to the governorship candidates?
It doesn't. Everything about the primaries, every
Okay.
candidate is exception for
All right,
me.
no problem. So
Yeah.
thank you so much and God
Thank you
bless you,
for
sir.
having me. Yeah.
All right, sure.